Okay, it's after 6. I think it's time to get started. If we could call the roll, please.
Tom Brayley. Fred Zawerko, excused. Bob Hanley, excused. Yolanda Jones. Here. Lloyd Clark.
Here.
Brenda Moore.
Here.
Jim Nightingale.
Present.
Jack Nash.
Present.
Zenobia Dallas.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome everybody to the January meeting of the Saginaw Planning Commission. Without my script in front of me, this is going to be a very abbreviated welcoming. You've just had it. Welcome to the January session of the Saginaw Planning Commission. Could I ask for a motion for approval of minutes from the December meeting?
Move to approve.
Support.
Thank you. Also would like to ask for approval of this evening's agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I have some unreadiness with the minutes.
Oh,
There are
okay,
just
I'm
some
sorry.
minor, I think, typos or spelling corrections I want to pass on to Cassie later.
Oh, okay.
Just wanted to
I'm
address-
sorry, please do.
Okay, thank you. Under section 5A, new business, the last sentence, the business is currently located on these parcels. Who? I think that perhaps should be would.
Oh, okay.
Okay. On the second page, under section C2, or Roman numeral II, the second line there, from Wade Trime Wood, I think that should be who? I'm going down. Okay. I'm going down to section D, master plan update, B. Golan, the next line there, should that be as the urban planner?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. And that, actually, was it, a couple of them were just, blah, 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 so just address them. Thank you.
I'd like to address one thing we already did earlier, just the dates on this meeting. The years are wrong on two areas.
Approval minutes from December 2018.
And Cassie, excuse me, one minor revision. Wade Trime should be Wade Trim.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Satisfactory?
Yes, thank you.
Minutes satisfactory with everybody? Okay, under new business, we have decided to postpone the election of officers due to the absence of some key members who we were hoping would step up and assist us as officers of the City Planning Commission. In speaking with Cassie, we've decided to postpone that until the February meeting, which then moves us on to the capital improvement plan presentation presented by Brian Weiss. Brian, welcome.
Thank you. All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brian Weiss. I am a budget analyst in the Office of Management and Budget for the city. And tonight I will be going over the capital improvement plan with you for the upcoming fiscal year and briefly covering some of the major projects within. So I'll begin with what a capital improvement plan is, and that is a tool to help plan for future long-term projects within the city. Our CIP covers 6 years of planned projects and helps to coordinate efforts between departments as well as with the city's master plan. So capital improvements themselves, they are physical assets or facilities which involve a substantial investment and last for a long period of time. So things like renovating a city hall or creating a fire barn, a new bridge, a new road, or road repair, something like that. And it's important to note that budgeted monies for capital expenditures are accounted for differently from operating expenses. And that's just, it's just an important distinction to make. we have a threshold for what constitutes a capital project, and it's anything that exceeds $20,000. And as long as it follows one of the following criteria, so land and non-structural improvements, new structures, major repairs and replacements, non-garage equipment, or motorized vehicles that are 250,000 or more. The CIP lists proposed projects along with important information such as location and cost. These projects are prioritized by the department, the planning commission, and the city manager. And the chart on the left of the page shows how the costs are split by department for fiscal year 2021 based on the requests. And as you can see, water makes up nearly half of the costs, followed by streets and sewer. And these three areas make up about 82% of the capital costs for the city. We prepare our CIP because it optimizes use of taxpayer dollars by creating a plan for major investments that the city needs to make. This helps departments work together when projects are similar, saving money and time. And having a CIP can also encourage economic development and financial stability, as well as create transparency. The CIP process starts with the departments. Department directors are responsible for having plans for future capital needs and submitting project requests on a standard template. They submit that to OMB for us to review. And once we receive those requests, OMB reviews these requests and discusses any questions or concerns with the departments. And next, a summary of requests is created and provided to the Planning Commission and the city manager for review. So part of that is what we're doing tonight. And following my presentation, the Planning Commission and the city manager will then review and rank each request based on priority. And you can either rate these requests on the printout in front of you, like on each printout, because you have a list of requests in front of you, where it says PC priority, and I'll point that out a little later in the presentation. Or also I'm going to email a list of all these projects to you, and you can rate them there as well and just return them digitally, if that's easier for you. And here's a short timeline of our process. The capital request forms were sent to the departments on November 8th of last year, and they were requested to be returned on January 3rd. A summary of these requests is being presented to you tonight, and the next step is each commissioner will review and assign a priority rating before your next meeting on February 25th. I will then collect these ratings and create a report that is submitted to the city manager. And so now I'll provide you an example of what these capital request forms look like and the important information found on them. And so at the top of the form are fields to list the department, the project name, estimated cost, where it's funded from, and as I mentioned before, the priority rankings. And you can see there's 3 different rankings, one for the department, one for the city manager's priority, and one for each of your commissioners' priorities. And those are either a 1, 2, or 3 based on need, with 1 being the most urgent. Beneath that is a breakdown of the estimated costs by year as well as the source of funds by year. And in this example, only a small amount of the total cost is expected to be incurred in the upcoming year, with the rest coming in future years. And next is an explanation of what the project is, a brief description, why it's important, and any progress made to date on that. And finally, at the bottom, the last section covers the location of the project, how much the cost will be in years beyond the upcoming year, whether other matching funds such as grants would be lost if the project is not completed, as well as whether the project is in accordance with the master plan, city council policy, and local, state, and federal regulations. So now I'm going to begin going through some of the major street projects that are planned and requested for fiscal year 2021. And first, I'll begin with the projects that are already in progress. The largest project for this year is the reconstruction of Mackinac Street between Hamilton Street and Alexander, which not only includes repairing the road, but also replacing the water main that's beneath the road. Next is the Hardin Street reconstruction, and that's this year's local street reconstruction project. One of these is completed every other year. Let's see. The annual mill and resurface project for this year is 6th Street, from Cherry Street all the way up to Washington. The Wicks Park Drive project will be converting a portion of the road into a non-motorized trail that will become part of the Riverwalk Trail and also part of the statewide Iron Bell Trail that is being built. Niagara Street is being reconstructed between the railroad tracks and Genesee Avenue. The annual Cape Seal project is Warren from Holland to Hoyt. The rehabilitation of the Norman Street Bridge over Veterans Memorial Parkway will be completed in this next year. And finally, sidewalk repairs and ADA sidewalk ramps will continue to be done this year, as they're done every year. Next are the new project requests, and there are a lot of these, so I'll try to summarize them pretty quickly for you. Most of the new proposed street projects this year are lower cost than the projects that are currently underway. And the major construction projects are on Adams and Cass between Michigan and Niagara, on Baum between Hoyt and Thompson, and on Lapeer between 2nd and 6th. There are also plans for 2 traffic signal upgrades, one at the intersection of Gratiot, Mackinac, and Michigan, and the other at Alexander Bay and Court. And besides those are a number of smaller rehab and resurfacing projects as well. Next are the water and sewer projects that are planned for next year, with the largest being a redundant transmission feed on Junction Road, and this will be installed to improve service to the Frankenmuth area, as this area has been experiencing problems with its water mains over the recent years. Next is the Kochville Reservoir improvements, and those are requests to complete masonry repairs to the pump station and make lining repairs to the reservoir. And then next are the line rehabilitate and replace the sewer main and the water main. And this is an ongoing maintenance project that is completed every year. And the largest project that we expect over the next couple of decades is the lead surface line replacement. And the city has 5 years to verify its inventory of lead lines. And then by January 1st of 2025, has to begin removing and replacing all of these lead lines. Emergency replacements, however, have been underway since February of 2018. Design work for a reline of the transmission main along Miller Street from the river to Woodbridge will be completed this year, with the rest of the project completed the following year. And finally, an additional main will be added along Dixie Highway to improve reliability to Birch Run and the surrounding area. Next are just some smaller projects from other departments that have been requested. The parking lot at the public parking lot at Fire Station 1 and also at the boat launch need to be repaired, as well as sidewalk repairs at the Anderson Center. And small repairs are planned each year at Greenpoint Nature Center, with this year's project being replacing the wood deck and stairs. I know I kind of went through that pretty quickly, so if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Back to the water sewer projects and the street projects. The ones that involve the, like the redundant transmission main or the Dixie Highway main, are those funded in any way through the receiving jurisdiction or any billing to them?
Well, some of the rates that they're charged would be part of that, but most of these major projects are going to be through a bond issuance that hasn't been completed yet. But that's what's been planned for the upcoming year.
So what we do charge, those entities don't pay the full freight?
Not the full amount, no.
How much, about, 50, 10, 100, or 90, what, what,
I'm not very clear on that number. I'd have to get back to you on that one.
okay, I just, if we're giving it better because they're having problems, I'd like to charge them more.
Right. Yeah, I'll make sure I get you that answer.
Can I enter?
Sure.
Here?
Any
Trying to,
Yeah, if
like-
Yolanda knows, she might know more than me.
information is helpful.
Okay, so, I mean, water and sewer is a enterprise fund. So
Exactly.
any kind of charges that or any kind of expenses that you incur, you have to pass on to the wholesale customers. So this had to be something planned for, as we recently just did a rate increase. So, we can give you a percent breakdown, but it had to be planned for it, and we'll
Well,
be
yeah,
part of it.
I understand the plan. Are you suggesting that ultimately they will pay for the whole freight?
I think that
that's okay.
combination of everybody who's a user of the system will end up paying for it.
Yeah, okay, as long as it doesn't come out of overall from us. It
It's
comes from the
every-
user.
It's from the user. It's an enterprise fund. It has to come from the user.
Well, I knew it was enterprise, that's why I was wondering, that's why I was curious
Yeah.
to make sure that was what was going on, okay.
I got a question. Remember we said we were gonna incorporate that in the water bills. Has that been done? Because I keep looking at my water bill.
The implementation phase of the lead and copper was projected to start January, so you will see it in your February bill.
I just got February and I don't remember seeing it.
It's supposed to be in your February bill. We can verify it, but that's what the projected date was,
Okay.
January, so it'll affect your February bill.
Because we pay ahead, right? Or we pay for the past
I think
month?
it's,
Passed.
yeah, I think it's in arrears.
You incur the
Yeah,
use,
it's in
then they
arrears.
bill you, yeah. So you might have only got January, or February, or December, you might
I
only
got the
December.
February bill already.
Yeah, but it would.
It won't come till March.
Right.
Uh,
And
I
if,
know I
and you know
keep
what,
looking.
and what we'll do is we'll confirm with the department, because we just met with them yesterday, to let you know when it should actually take effect. I know that there was some questions on it
Right.
before, but we'll let you know.
Okay, well, that might be something that you might want to let the community know as well, because everybody was thinking January.
Correct.
So when they didn't
correct.
see it in January, they just assumed, oh, it's not gonna happen.
Well, there's a difference between the effective date and when they get it in their bill.
Yes.
And that's what I think the delay is here.
There's
Effective-
right, there's been a lot of delays, and staff is working on when it's supposed to go out. There's supposed to be a flyer also supposed to be sent at the same time.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like people are under the impression.
Okay.
So they call and they ask the question and I'm like, I don't know, let me check my bill.
We'll find out and let you know.
Thank you, thank you, ma'am.
There are also billing cycles involved as well.
There is.
Yeah, so for Brenda to have received her February bill already, she's in that early billing cycle. So that probably it missed the cut, so the bills going forward.
Exactly.
Moving forward from that point on should reflect it, and then Brenda would see hers in March.
We'll be happy to have you pay sooner than later.
I'm gonna, look, I'm trying to budget now. Like, maybe they're not gonna do it.
Oh, well,
We kind of have to do it, but,
It's coming, Brenda.
yeah.
It's coming.
Okay, thank you.
The ones that are underway now, the streets in progress, you've got estimated future costs. Some of them it's much larger later, so is that multiple years? Is that-
Yes, so the ones that are currently in progress, our CIP goes out 6 years, so the fiscal year 21 cost would just be that 1 year, and then estimated future cost would be the sum of the other 5 years.
Okay, that makes sense, okay. So, where you have 200,000 for annual Cape and Seal, 800,000 left divided over 6 years, and,
Yeah, so it's about 200,000 every year they spend on that, and it's just different roads every year.
got it, thank you.
Did we get money from MDOT on any of this, or this is our bond money?
For the streets,
Well, I'm sorry. It should be lined up. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
oh, no problem. On each of the individual projects that are under the street projects, you can see the source of the funds.
Okay.
So Act 51 would be money we receive from the state for revenue sharing through the gas tax, and then there's also other sources of funding as well.
Thank you.
I do have a follow-up question, well, not, an additional one on page 12, the rating system or the prioritizing. Is there a criteria we will have to use to figure out what our priorities?
Essentially, what you feel
Just
are
one,
the
two, or
most
three is all
important.
your, is that it?
Yeah.
Nothing? No criteria, no basis for what we think that should be? I mean, what's a one?
I mean, you're ideally would use the descriptions that they provided with you, the explanations of how it's important.
So it's totally subjective then?
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess that's what I needed to know.
So it's their goal to try to convince you that this is as important as, you know, and convince you to rate it as a 1, basically.
Hopefully they've got good writers.
The thing is that as you will see, as you're looking at the forms, we asked them to talk about like the operational impact, where they at in the progress. So say that it was a number 1 last year, which you wouldn't know, and they haven't started yet, so maybe it should have been a number 2. So based on how the form is set up, you're able to determine what you think the rating should be. What you will recognize, which has been something that has been talked a lot about, is that everything's a 1 to most people. But you have to look past that and say, okay, how do you see it? Because this is about public infrastructure. The water, the streets, how do you rank it as the planning commissioner?
So it's probably best to go through the whole thing once, do an initial, and then go back through and do it second or third time even to try and really get what you think will be final. Right. It's not a one-off, in other words.
Right.
Okay, just helps to know.
And Brian did say he would send me an electronic copy so we could
Yeah.
send to you guys,
And
if
so,
that's
and
easier.
at the front of your document, you have like just a summary of each one. It gives you like the costs throughout the years and whether that project is already underway or not. I'm going to add another column for that. That will have a rating, so you can just provide them on there if you don't feel like going through each one and writing it in. However works best for you, I'm happy to accommodate that.
Where's the rating spot? It's before that. I don't see any department priority that's not one.
Yeah. And you have to understand that there was a time period where we had issues with receiving a lot of money for Act 51 monies. We weren't doing a lot of capital projects. So oftentimes what you see as a 1 is a reaction to the city not being able to do a lot of the capital improvement that it needs to.
That's right. So some of these things have gone, like we've been stretching our capital equipment or our roads as long as we possibly could. So, you know, it's justifiable that the department heads would feel that everything is so important to repair because it really might be.
All right.
And just a reminder again, they're due back by the next meeting. It was February 25th.
25th.
Right.
On or before or before?
You can bring it to the meeting. If it's electronic, you can send it to me anytime and I'll just shoot it to Brian.
Thank you.
So we got questions, we can come see you.
You can contact me. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Just wanna make sure now.
Is your
that you're
email and
available.
phone number in here?
It's not, but Cassie
I
can give that to
share it
him.
with
Yeah.
yours.
We
Yes.
should have it if we do.
Brian
Yeah, if you
works
have any questions.
24 hours a day.
Yep.
So
I never
put a
sleep.
cell phone on there.
That's good to know. Want to make sure it's here. You may need to do that. It's that or either you get them.
Yeah.
And then it'll come down to me anyway.
Yeah, but it's more direct this way.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll just give us that information, right?
Yep.
Sorry, Brian.
No problem.
Okay,
So if we want to move on, I guess.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
We think.
Okay, moving along, other development updates. Staff, do we have anything?
Yes, I have a couple things. So, 218 South Washington was the new development that's going in right next to what is now Valerie's, the old Wally's. They did get comments back from engineering. They have a few things that they have to change around with, mostly with some underground things and then formatting and information that they gave. But they also have to go, submitting of their project to MDOT because it is on Washington, which is a state highway or state road. So, hopefully that won't have a huge impact on their timeline because they are essentially keeping the same curb cuts. And they're not on a corner that would impair visibility. So I'll keep you updated on that.
Can I ask one real question,
Sure.
quick question real quick? Was the driveway to the parking lot in the back gonna be on the north side or the south side of the building?
The south side of the
It is
building.
the south side, so it'll be
Yeah.
right up against Valerie's.
No,
No.
the south side is towards Spicer.
Right. Okay,
That's where the drive is.
okay, good.
Yeah.
And they do have
And
to,
that's where it is now.
Well, no, that's, I'm sorry, that is what I thought you said, the building will be up against.
Oh, yes.
but there still has to be a space between the two, right?
Yep.
Yep, they can't be right, it can't butt right up
How
to
much space?
6, right?
6 feet, yeah, I think
6
that's
feet?
what it was, yep.
Okay.
Um,
I know she's very concerned for a whole lot of reasons, I mean, I'm sure
I
you've heard
know.
that, so.
I know. The Saginaw Zoo, this was a project that didn't have to come before the planning commission because it was very minor. They're adding a watering tank and fire hydrant in their goat yard. But that did have to go to engineering and, so they were working through that for the last couple of months and they did get approved beginning of this month. So the goats are getting a new watering tank.
Well, they needed something to stand on.
Yep, exactly.
Or something.
And then the third one, most of you have probably heard about Covenant's partnership with the Mary Free Bed group, and they have just started discussing their plans and checking with Bob and I about zoning regulations, things like that. We haven't gotten a plan yet, but they are getting closer, so that's exciting.
That all stay in-house because we won't see that, right? Their plans,
Yeah, you will.
some of them? Mm-hmm. But the state,
They'll have to come before the planning commission.
okay.
I believe so.
They have a site already, don't they?
Yep, they're just doing it on their own property.
Right.
One of the parking lots, towards Cooper, like Cooper and I guess I'm not sure what those roads are. They have an elevated skywalk and there's one area where it turns and there's a huge parking lot and they're gonna just build the building on that part.
It's just west of the Cooper building, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's right where it is, yes.
How many square feet? Don't know.
Don't know, yeah.
The rehab's supposed to be big, though, a lot of,
It's, yeah, it's
40 or 50
huge.
some beds, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
And this will be dedicated solely to Mary Free Bed?
so it'll be a rehab center, yep, for a variety of different things. And hopefully it will, continue just to expand and then pull in, because there's a huge need. They already have some with their partnership, they already have 25 beds or something, but they've obviously seen that there's such a need up here with, I mean, the limited amount of healthcare that we have, especially north of us, so. Yep.
Very
And
good.
then Bob was gonna give an update on master plan.
I can just tell you where we're at and what direction we're going in. So, as I think I mentioned to you the last meeting, I had been reviewing a lot of the plans that have been, plans and studies and whatnot that have been developed by the city over the last, since the last master plan was developed. And this is just a list of all of the plans and studies that have been done. I've noticed that there were a lot of goals and objectives that were focused in on or were concurrent with the city's master plan. It's impossible or difficult for the planning commission, city staff, and others to go through all of these various plans and determine what direction we're supposed to be going in. So we've put together a work group. It consists of of Cassie, Brian Leckel from the County Parks and Rec, Lewis Taylor, who is the new city engineer, myself, and a student who is working to get her doctorate degree at the U of M in urban planning, Sahil Izadi. Izadi, yeah. And so what we are doing is we're putting together a scope of work for the request for proposal for the firm that we would hire to help us go through this process. What we are going to be doing is updating not only the existing master plan, but we're going to include the recreation plan. We're going to include a housing study and housing plan, a parking study, and then transportation as well. So it'll be a large update. The task sounds ominous, but you have to remember that we are working off of updating the existing master plan. There has been a housing study in the past, and so it may just be a matter of updating those sorts of things, recognizing there's been a lot of changes over the last 10 years. The Parks and Recreation Plan will include a lot of the things that are happening with trail development and programming, some of the park development. So I think it's actually a doable thing. The advantage of putting these all together is that then as we need to update them on a regular basis, which is required by law, we can do them all at once here on forward and do them and update them at a shorter period of time, like a 5-year period.
So the completion date that council approved, we're pushing it back evidently. Evidently, we're pushing it back because we said next year. And it sounds like,
December 1st of this year.
okay, so we're gonna stick to that date? Maybe.
Maybe. I'd like to say yes, but I'm not sure yet. We won't know until we get the request or the proposals back.
So are you actually gonna go through and actually look at what we've accomplished versus where we are? I mean, is that what you're doing?
Well, the master plan process always takes into account what we've accomplished. It also has a future look component to it as
Right.
well. And then what we would like to do is have some very specific action plans to accomplish going forward.
That should be exciting.
I have some questions. You talked about transportation as part of this. To me, transportation for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years has to take a lot of things into consideration, everything from bike paths, walkability, ride sharing, the fact that we may very well end up with a lot less parking needed in the future if we use, what do they call the Lyft and
Uber and Lyft.
Uber type, pickup drop off. You need park places for that, for picking up and dropping off people, but you may not need electric chargers for vehicles. Is that all going to be encompassed in, even aesthetics? So we need to improve our aesthetics in the downtown, old town, and our trail system. Is that all going to be included, or do we need to do something to say, here's what we want included?
Well, that's what the scope of work that's being developed right now will request the firms that we ask to submit proposals. It would include those sorts of things. Although I agree with you to look that far down the road, it's hard to really determine where we're going to be that far down the
Well,
road.
that's true, but you know you need, we need
Yes.
bike paths.
Yes.
I mean, those are givens. We know you need walkability. We know you need mobility.
Correct,
I mean,
yes.
some of that's, you may, even electric chargers, I mean, those are coming. We need to, you might be right that we may not be able to say the ride sharing or the Uber type will take over, but it's gonna be bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can say we're talking even 5 or 10 years down the road. These are things that are happening.
So just talk about the work plan that I'm proposing here is that once we get the request for proposals and we submit those proposals will come back and we will work on tweaking those how we feel is necessary. Our group will expand, will include the Planning Commission and other community leaders, and we'll get some input on that and then move forward on that. But those are great points. Yeah.
Thank you.
Likewise, just to add, for example, I had a meeting this morning and I brought in Brian Leckel from the county who, we are, since they are doing a lot of programming in the city for Parks and Rec, he's able to lend some insight in terms of how all these paths and everything come together, the trails and whatnot. He and I put him in touch with the city engineer, so now they're talking in terms of capital improvement things that need to happen or occur to make some of these trails work. You know, just striping and narrowing of roads to include bike paths, various things like that.
And I will mention, we're also utilizing our relationship through MML, through Brenda, to reach out to a lot of their vendors that they would suggest for us to send the RFP to.
I know.
I know you know, but I wanted to mention it
No,
also.
no, that's good to know because there is money out there, and while my reign is going on, I want us to get some of that money. I have a question again for you, young man. What were the areas again you said? I know Parks and Recreation, Transportation. You said the areas you were gonna look at.
Yeah, in essence, land use, so that's gonna talk about, the redevelopment ready, best use practices, kinds of things. Form-based design, which the riverfront mixed-use development, that's considered form-based design. And perhaps maybe even expanding those to some areas that, we would like to encourage more development to occur. And then housing would be the second one, transportation, recreation, and then a parking study as well.
And the city also, Yolanda and Tim Morales, submitted a grant to the state treasury office. Yep, to help with the housing, and transportation parking studies. So hopefully we'll receive a pretty decent sized grant from them for that.
So are we talking building houses, or we're talking about rehabbing? What are we talking?
I don't care. That's to be determined, correct?
Yep, to be determined, but primarily to see exactly what we have, what the demand is, and maybe get some best practices for how we could accomplish, filling the gap of what we don't have with what is being demanded.
This is gonna go to an outside firm, right, supposedly, the last part of it?
Yep, all of that.
All of the components, yeah.
And then that'll come back, because I was on this before for the one that, how long has this one been extended? This one?
Till this December 1st.
December
No,
1st.
but when was this one inception? What year, the last one?
2011 was when
Yeah,
it
so
was
this has been,
developed.
I was on that one, so this has been extended and extended. They're just catching up.
So if we gonna do any changes in between, say something, we change something that's in the master plan already, is that gonna affect y'all from working on it?
What do you mean?
No, that's the basis, but the new proposal will be to take that document and change it to fit our
Okay.
future needs.
That's all I want.
Just from historically, when you work with the other firm or whatever, they'll probably have some public hearings for people to come in and give their insight of what should be done or what they think should be done. They just won't say, okay, here you go. You know, this is what you're gonna do. They're gonna ask for our input and the community input.
Well, I'm asking because I went through the book and there is some areas that is obsolete. Some of the
Oh, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
in there is totally obsolete.
Exactly.
Never gonna happen, shouldn't have never been there. And so we need to change. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, yeah,
Is this
definitely.
gonna be a process?
Well,
And I'm understanding now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm new to this.
Oh, okay. I
So
think
I'm asking.
were you on that one?
Yep, I was.
How long did it take? A year?
Yes, it did.
Take a minute. The last one we were on was a whole year of planning before they even got to that part. It was a long time.
So that's why I said, we gave a deadline. We gonna be done with this by
We
then?
got a
Okay.
year to work on it, we'll see where it goes then.
Well, and we really already started, I mean, I started telling you guys about the master planning probably in October.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe before that, we started talking about it,
I
so
believe-
it takes a long time.
I believe that master plan that he said was put into process in 2011
Right,
was probably started in 2008 or 2009.
okay.
It took that long to get to there.
To get to the book
There
that
were
we
all
got
sorts of
now.
meetings all over the place,
Okay,
all over the place.
thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, we do not have any participants for public comment tonight, so I guess we can move forward and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one quick question?
Certainly.
Cassie, people been asking me, is anything happening with Pier Marquette?
The rail with the station?
With Pier Marquette, that area. You know, you got Candies, then you got the Renter Center on one end, the grocery store was there, and you got City Trend. Are they gonna improve that area? Is she renting? What is she doing?
I have not heard anything about that area.
Right on the west side over here.
Right here at the bridge. It
Oh, the
used to be
bridge.
the old Shoppers Fair. We call it Pier Marquette.
Wait,
Wait, you're talking, no,
oh,
no.
like where the food depot is? Like the
Yeah, it
Riverview
used to be.
Plaza thing? Is that
Right,
what you call it?
right.
Last I heard that she had it up for sale for like $5 million. And there's been a lot of discussion about what it could be reused for, but, nothing really imminent right now. But she has it.
But she's got it up, but
very,
it is
very
up for sale.
costly.
It has been, I don't know if it's now. Her
Well, and
problem,
she had originally said she was going to completely redo it.
That's
She
what
was
she
going to
said.
redo the parking lot, she was going to get all these businesses.
Right.
And I have not seen anything happen.
my
so-
understanding is she
But it is up for sale.
she mortgaged that to do another center. So now it's got a big mortgage on it.
Yep,
That she doesn't have the money to do anything with, which
yeah.
is why she has to get a big price for it too.
Good luck.
I know, so.
Yep.
I met with her almost a year ago now, and she had told me her plans, and then it goes up for sale, and we find out all this, so I'm not sure what's happening.
Probably nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not gonna sell it for $5 or $6 million.
I know.
Not gonna say it's got too
Unfortunately.
much damage to it.
Okay. Thank you, Brendan. May we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
I
adjourn.
move we adjourn the meeting for this evening.
Support.
Thank you, we are adjourned.